Alright YouTube, what's going on? So I'm actually doing a retake of this video on this knife. This is a custom Gavko knife, and I'd originally done it with another custom that I just received, and I decided it just needed its own video for each knife. So let's go ahead and talk about this. This is one of Gavko's earlier models. It's called the small flipper. Back when he first started making knives, he had like his large flipper, his small flipper. He had like an ADC knife, he called it. Then he started doing the Makos and such, black tips and bullheads that you see today. And I think it's one of the newer models. It's called the Spinner. Just getting a drink. So let's look at the small flipper. Great. Let's just actually take a second just to admire this knife, because it's something else. The milling on the scales is incredible. A lot of work went into this knife. Look at all that. Not to mention the chamfered edges and the custom anodization throughout the knife. And we'll kind of cover that a little bit more. But we'll cover that after we look at some of the specs of the knife first. So the small flipper is a 3.5 inch blade. Overall length is just shy of 8 inches overall length. Probably like 7.75, I would say, 7 3/4. Oh man, I just love that blade. Beautiful satin grind on that. Satin finish, excuse me. Beautiful grind. This is a custom knife, guys, hand ground. There's the Gavko logo. You've got a nice swedge here. Kind of a reverse Tanto drop point blade, I guess you'd call it. Nice, good size flipper tab. It just gives you a nice finger guard there. You have a ramp up here at the top of the blade. That is for your thumb, excuse me, to rest on, and it is perfect. It just feels so good. So a little history on with Gavko knives with me. I remember when they first started making, and I've been following Mike on YouTube for a long time, and when he used to pimp knives and such, and then he started making knives, started with fixed blades, got into folders, which is pretty common with most knife makers. And I've always thought he did really good work, but his designs just never really appealed. Excuse me, never really appealed to me for whatever reason. I always thought the design looked a little different, and I'm like, oh, they don't look that ergonomic, and I'm just not sure on it. So, and then I actually had a local USN meet recently, actually a couple of them. I was able to handle quite a few Gavkos, a couple Makos. I think a black tip, maybe a bullhead, and I was like, ooh, I gotta have one of those, because they feel fantastic. First of all, the flipping action on this knife is incredible. Perfect detent, super smooth action. I mean, just flips so nicely, but it's the feel of the knife, like in your hand. Like, the ergonomics are fantastic. It just feels amazing in the hand. This is, like I said, the small flipper, and it is perfect size for me. This is right in my wheelhouse. It's very lightweight. I want to say she weighs in at under 4 ounces, 3.6. 3.6 ounces. Full titanium frame lock, 3.5 inch blade. I mean, that's a lot of blade. That's about perfect. And in that small of a compact of a size, the blade to handle ratio is awesome. I mean, your finger's not going to catch that tip ever, but it takes advantage of that entire handle, which is a big deal to me. Now, as you look at this from this view, you can see the anodizing is got a little bluish purplish hue along this side here, along the lock face, not the lock face, but the lock bar here, and throughout the circles, the milled crop circles, you can kind of see the light's catching it pretty good right now. There's some bluish, purplish hints. There's some bronze hints. So this knife has some pretty amazing, extensive anodizing done. Love the pocket clip. It is milled out to match the scales. There's just a lot of hand work that went into this knife. This is not a production. This is a full custom, and it is awesome at that. It is so well done. All made by hand. You can really see the difference in this knife as a custom versus a production knife. Now, there's some customs out there that I look at, or even mid-techs, and I'm like, it's not much different than a lot of production knives. This is one that I look at and I say that's a custom. Like, you look at it and you're like, yep, no doubt in your mind. Beautiful piece of art. Not just a cutting tool, but a piece of art. And that's kind of how custom knives are. That's how they should be anyway. You can see the brawn, anodized barrel spacers. Pretty simple to flow through construction, which is really nice. Again, I'm just trying to have the light catch the different colors of anodization because it's just incredible. It's like a rainbow when you look at this thing. Incredible. Just a beautiful knife. I'm super stoked I got it. Especially I got it on the secondary market. It had been used by the previous owner. And that's my one kind of hold up with customs, spending that kind of money, is, am I going to use it? Because typically if I don't use a knife, I end up selling it. I don't really have safe queens in my collection. I rotate through every single one of my knives, and if I don't, they usually get sold. So I was kind of stoked because this had seen some light use already, so I didn't mind, you know, using it myself. And then totally lost my train of thought. Oh, price wise, the value on this I got was incredible. I think much less than what most Gavkos go for, especially the new Makos and such. Those are going for over $1,000 on the secondary market. I paid about half that for this, and even if you got a knife directly from Mike these days, if you were lucky enough to pull the trigger on one of his Gear Bastion site, you're going to be paying, I think, closer to $700-800, $900. So, you know, this was a good value. It came up on the secondary market, and it was something I had to pull the trigger on, and I'm really glad I did. It's incredible. It's quickly becoming the favorite in my collection. It's so comfortable in the hand, just perfect, so lightweight. It's just, that thumb wrap is perfect for cutting, for push cuts. You know, you have your reverse grip is perfect. It's just awesome. I have no complaints on this knife. Typically I can find something about a knife that I'm not a fan of. I have yet to find anything on this. Look at that, that's sweet. So I feel like this deserved its own video, and I'm a huge fan of Gavko now, and I was after I handled a bunch of his knives, and I kind of feel like he's one of those makers that you have to kind of handle and try out one of his knives to really get an appreciation for them, because they are definitely different aesthetically looking than a lot of customs. And here's an example of a Laconico. This is actually a Mike Vagnino. I always mess up his name. Laconico collaboration. It's the Lancer 2. And it's a great, beautiful knife too, but the custom work that went into this knife, you can tell, is much more than this. And that's kind of Laconico's design. You know, he's very, I don't want to say plain, but, you know, his knives are clean. They're, you know, not a whole lot of stuff going on, but they're very functional and they look great. The Gavkos, you know, what's cool about even his Ferrum Forge collaboration, the Ferco, every one of those was unique and different. There were some different millings and anodizations and such that went with them. You're not going to find too many Gavko knives that look the same, and that is really neat. And that's what makes them really unique and special, I think, because, yeah, it's a knife, it's special. Anyway, that's super smooth. I mean, so great. Perfect flipping action, the way a flipper should be. So that's the Gavko small flipper, guys. One of my newest acquisitions. Thought I'd share it with you guys, do its own video. Steel on this is AEBL, which is a pretty common steel used by a lot of custom makers. I know Jesse Jarosz uses it. I know that Mike's used it on quite a few of his knives. So it's, you know, it's a good steel. It's good edge retention. Rockwell hardness, I think, is in the 60 range. I'm not 100% sure what Mike ran them at though. So if anyone knows, you could clarify that for me. That'd be awesome. But in the meantime, let's just look at some more macro shots of these, and please tell me you're watching this video in high definition, because you're seeing, see, I'm trying to get the light to catch that. It's just ridiculous. So cool. And he even said, I watched a video about this knife and the larger brother, he made a large version, about how he didn't want to ever do this again, the milling, because it was so extensive and a lot of work. So pretty cool, guys. Alright guys, that's the Gavko. My first Gavko, and I am definitely loving it. Highly recommend them. If you've got the money, you don't mind paying a little bit more for a custom knife, and you don't have a Gavko, I'd recommend it. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.